Dude, let's go.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Untamed Outdoorsmen. And today we are back once again for a very special video, and one that I've been really looking forward to making. I mark this video on the calendar every year because I love making this video. I love it so much. And today we are going to be doing our 2025 rod and reel arsenal video. This is probably going to be a longer video, to be completely honest with you, but today we are going to be going in depth on every single rod we have, what we use it for, our line setups, how often we use it, everything like that. And we're going to be going in depth on every single one of these rods. So we're not going to be missing one. We've got them all here. So I have my setups on my right here, and I have Pete's setups on my left here. Pete could not be here today. He's got a lot of stuff going on right now, but he asked me to make this video for you guys and showcase his combos. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So many of you guys ask about our rod and reel combos. In a lot of our fishing videos, we get those questions all the time and we answer them, but we like to make this video once a year, kind of going over everything just so people can reference this video at a later date. And I'm going to leave this in the description of every video from here on out. In the description of our video, we have a section of the gear that we use, and we've had that 2024 rod and reel arsenal video in there, but now we're going to have this one in there so you guys can always reference the rods that we use at any point in time. So I'm going to start with Pete's, and then I'm going to start with mine. I'm going to try to work relatively quickly because if I spend too much time, we'll be here for an hour and a half, and I don't want to do that. Actually, kind of a big disclaimer that I want to get out of the way here. Yes, all of these combos are premium and they're very expensive. I see that, I understand that. You do not need all of these to enjoy bass fishing. I want to make that very clear. You can have an equally fun time bass fishing using whatever combo that you want to use or whatever combo you don't want to use. This is many years of collecting and replacing things as we use them and upgrading things over time. We did not buy all of these in one complete shot because I think my side is over $5,000 and Pete's side is well over, I think, $4,000. So very premium setups here, but we did not get them all in one shot. This is probably, I would say, close to 8 or 9 years of consistent upgrading and replacing as we use them. So just please keep that in mind. This is a collection that took me a long time to build, and I finally have it to a point where I really like it. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to mention. And one more thing too, all of these combos are subject to change. I am eventually planning on getting sort of an all-purpose baitcaster setup that can handle just about everything. And I want to get that for when we go bank fishing so I don't have to carry as many rods, and when we go on specialty trips where we can't bring a lot of tackle. More on that later this year. But I do eventually plan to get that. That's not here right now. But all of these combos are completely subject to change. We're always changing things around. We're always trying to improve our setups a little bit. So just keep that in mind. This is as of March 2025. All right, so we're gonna get started with Pete's. I know the ins and outs of Pete's setup a little less than I do mine. So if it seems like I'm trying to piece things together as I go with Pete's setups, that's the reason I don't use these setups every day. But all right, so we're gonna start here. This is Topwater. And that's everything except frogs. This is everything but a frog rod for him. So this is a Lose Mock Crush 7.5-to-1 gear ratio reel. We've had this thing forever. We've had this thing at least for 6 years, and we have beat this thing up. This actually originally was mine, and I gave it to Pete because I upgraded, and he still uses it all the time. This thing has been with this channel since the beginning, this one Lose Mock Crush reel. So if that tells you anything, they last a long time. And for the rod, it's a Ducket Triad 7-foot medium heavy power. So Pete is a huge fan of his Ducket rods. He absolutely swears by Ducket. He has probably more than half of his combos are Duckets, and for good reason. He really likes those Duckets and he enjoys them. But like I said, Ducket Triad, 7-foot medium heavy, and I believe he has 20-pound braid on here. 20-pound Power Pro braid. yeah, it's a really good setup for them. And this is perfect for buzz baits, poppers, walking baits, things like that, jitterbugs maybe. This is what he throws those on. So that's cool. All right, I'm gonna put all the used ones over here, the ones that we've done already. Okay, so next one here. This is Pete's Ned Rigs setup. So this is solely Ned Rigs. This is nothing more, just Ned Rigs. And this is a Shimano Nexave 2500 size reel, spinning reel. And his rod is a St. Croix Mojo Yak 7-foot medium power. This is a fast action tip as well. I like these Mojo Yak rods because of the short butt on the bottom, but considering we stand up in the kayaks all the time, that's not as important, but I still like it for when we sit down. It does help a little bit with casting, which is nice. Shimano Nexave, easily one of the best budget reels on the market. I absolutely love them. In my opinion, if you're on a budget, low-end Shimano is the best low-end brand that you can buy. Not that Pete was on a budget, but this was a great decision because this is not a combo that we use 100% of the time all year. So there's no sense in buying the nice Shimano Vanfords or anything like that for a combo you may not use every day. And this is a prime example of that, and it's still really good quality. All right, next one here is Pete's newest combo, actually, and this is his crankbait rod. This is one that it's so new we haven't even put the line on it yet. So we don't know too much about this one and how it's gonna perform for him. But I will say this, so this is a Shimano Corrado MGL. This is not a Corrado K, not a Corrado DC. This is a Corrado MGL. This is the first one that we've bought, and it feels really good quality in the hand. We'll have to see how it goes. And this one, the rod, is a Dobyns Caden Series crank and stick. This one's a 7.3 medium moderate. So this thing, in my opinion, is going to do really well for him. Again, we don't know too much about this one yet, considering it's so new. We haven't even put the line on it yet. But we're most likely going to end up putting 12-pound fluorocarbon on this as just a baseline. But this thing is going to work really good for him. I have no doubt about that. So yeah, short one because, again, we haven't used it yet, but should be a really good one for us. So this one here is Pete's Chatterbaits setup. So this one here is a Daiwa to Tula CT 7.3 to 1 gear ratio. Not bad for chatterbaits there. Maybe a little bit fast, but it'll work. So a Daiwa to Tula CT 7.3 to 1 gear ratio with a Duckett Silverado 7.3 medium heavy. So this thing is perfect for chatterbaits. Maybe a little fast on the reel, but it's perfectly fine. We can adjust for it. The Duckett Silverados are a great budget rod for around $100, I believe, was what he bought it at. Really, really good rod for the money. He really likes it. And this will throw anywhere from 3/8 to half-ounce chatterbait. So nothing too crazy. And I like the 7.3 for chatterbait specifically because it gives you that little bit longer rod and a little bit extra backbone, which is what I like. But yeah, that's his chatterbaits. Okay, going to the next one here. So this one is kind of the workhorse, I guess. Sort of lighter duty Texas rig setup. This one is really not bad at all. He uses this for like lighter 3/8, quarter ounce, things like that. He throws this on. Mainly Texas rigs. He may throw the occasional jig on here, but this is mainly a lighter duty Texas rigs. Things like, for example, this twisty tail worm, things like that. This is a 10-inch worm. This is perfect for that. Places where there's not really any thick mats, but you still want to throw a Texas rig, this is great. So this is a Shimano SLX DC 8.2 to 1 gear ratio reel. And this is a Guggen Go 2 7-foot medium heavy. So the Shimano SLX DC, those of you who are interested on this channel's take on the DCs, when you know how to use them, can be a really great tool. But I will admit that sometimes with the DC, it tends to attract those younger and beginner anglers because it makes the cool sounding winding noise. That tends to attract the younger audience and the newer anglers. When in reality, I don't think it helps you start as an angler. When you're first starting as an angler, you really should not get a DC because it's not going to help you learn how to use a baitcaster because it takes a lot of the tuning out of your hands, and I think when you're trying to learn, that's not a great tool. If you're looking for the best place to use a DC, that's going to be baits that can easily get caught in the wind. So you'll notice on my combos, I only have a DC on my spinnerbaits because those blades in the spinnerbaits, when it comes to high wind, they can easily get caught in the wind, and traditional brakes don't have time to adjust for that really hard cast and that quick stop that would happen in the wind because it gets pulled back. That's the only place that I would recommend really using a DC. Like I said, the younger and more inexperienced anglers, they hear that winding noise from other YouTubers and they're like, oh my God, I have to have that reel. It's the coolest thing ever. When in reality, you know, it's nice to have for certain baits, but it's definitely not a necessity. So yeah, that's kind of my take on DCs. But yeah, so I believe this is 15-pound fluorocarbon on here. Really good combo. The Guggen rods I feel like they're okay. They're not amazing, they're not terrible, but we got these on a really good sale. It just made sense to get it. But yeah, that's his light duty Texas rigs. So this guy right here is another ducket, but this is Pete's spinnerbait combo. So this is, the reel is a 6.3-to-1 Daiwa Tatula CT with 12-pound fluorocarbon. And the rod is a Ducket Jacob Wheeler Signature Series rod, and this is a 7-foot medium heavy action. This is one that I see Pete use quite a bit. This is a trusty, tried and true combo for him. Spinnerbaits have become such a staple in our setups, especially with this last season. I started to use spinnerbaits a lot in the second half of the year. But yeah, guys, so this is a spinnerbait one, anywhere from 3/8 to ½ ounce. We're not really throwing anything heavier than that or lighter than that, so this will work perfect for that. But yeah, 6.3-to-1 Tatula. All right. This one is his jerkbaits. So this jerkbait setup is definitely, compared to the other ones, it's not as premium. I believe this is a combo. This is one that I've barely seen him use. But this one is a Abu Garcia Pro Max bait caster. Let me get the gear ratio on that. Oh, 7:1-to-1. It says it right there. But Abu Garcia Pro Max reel, 7:1-to-1 gear ratio with the Abu Garcia Pro Max Next Gen 7-foot medium heavy. So this is a jerkbait setup, not something he uses very often, hence why the combo price is a little bit lower compared to the other ones, but still a good one. Maybe one he'll use a little bit more this year, especially in cold water. But yeah, nothing too crazy there. All right, we still have about 5 more in Pete's. Okay, so this is Pete's heavier duty Texas rigs and punching setup. So for the reel, this is a Shimano Corrado K, 8.2-to-1 gear ratio, so the extra fast gearing. I think this is my favorite reel Shimano ever made, is the Shimano Corrado K200. One of my favorite, if not my favorite reel ever, with, I believe this is 50-pound braid and a Guggen muscle rod, which is a 7.5 heavy. Again, got a really good deal on some Guggen rods, so hence why he has a few of them. But this combo is specifically for heavier mats, heavy punching mats, things like that. He has a Berkeley Pit Boss on there, and I believe this is a 1.5 ounce weight. This thing is a heavy duty workhorse for him. He uses this thing quite a bit. I see him use it a lot. And it's really not a bad setup. I mean, for the money, it's really good. Again, we got a good deal on some Guggen rods. Guggen, I feel like, is a good company, but it's starting to kind of slow down a little bit. So they're kind of putting things on sale a little bit more. So he took advantage and got this guy. But yeah, this is Pete's heavy duty flipping setup. Flipping and punching. All right, next one here. So this is Pete's frog rod. So this is exclusively frogs. It'll see nothing but frogs. We got 50-pound braid on here. A Shimano SLX, not the DC, traditional SLX. This is a 7:3-to-1 gear ratio, I believe. Yep, 7:3-to-1. The Shimano SLX, I believe the actual SLX is discontinued. I think it's a different name now. But either way, great budget reel. The SLX is, in my opinion, at the $100 price point, this is the #1 guy. The SLX. Fantastic reel. And this is the Flares. This is kind of a rare rod. It's actually a really rare rod, actually. I don't even think you can buy it, and I don't even see it in a used market. It's so rare. But this is a favorite rod, and this is the Flares Frog and Flippin' Stick. So back in 2019, 2020, I actually have one as well, but it's a different type. I'll show you in a minute. But back in 2019, 2020, Guggen, when they first started out, actually combined with favorite rods, and they made a specialty line of rods with each Guggen. So they had a John B rod, they had a Lunkers TV rod, they had a Lake Fork Guy rod, they had a Flares rod, they had an AP Bassin rod. There may have been one more, I can't remember, but this was the Flare one. This is a 7.3 extra heavy Flares Frog and Flippin' Stick. And this thing we've had for a very long time, and it still continues to produce for us. This is a, maybe not the best rod in the arsenal, but a very reliable rod, shockingly. I know Favorite kind of has some 50-50 opinions on it, but for our needs and our situation, this thing has been great for us. So Yeah, kind of the rarest rod that we have in the arsenal, at least Pete's arsenal, and surprisingly a pretty good one at around $100 when we bought it about 5 or 6 years ago. So yeah, not bad. We got 2 more in Pete's setups, but this one is Pete's jig rod. So this one here is exclusively jigs, nothing more. And it is a 7.6 Ducket Insight, back to Pete's Duckets. 7.6 Ducket Insight in the medium heavy. So this thing is not really throwing anything too heavy for jigs. I think the biggest it's going to throw is like 3/4 ounce. So a 7.6 medium heavy is perfectly fine for this application. And for the reel, we have a Shimano SLX DC 7.3-1 with, I believe this was 20-pound fluorocarbon. So really good setup here. Again, this is throwing every type of jig. It may throw swim jigs as well, but probably more like football jigs and things like that this is going to throw. But yeah, not too much to talk about with this one. Ducket Insight, good stuff. Okay, so now we're on to Pete's last setup. This one, I would say he uses the most out of all of them, hands down. But this one is his Wacky rig rod. And this guy is, like I said, his most used. But this is a Ducket Jacob Wheeler, 7-foot medium power. Jacob Wheeler Signature Series with 15-pound Power Pro V2 braid. And the reel is an Abu Garcia Mike Iaconelli special reel. So this thing, I think, was like a $250 reel, somewhere around there. But yeah, Mike Iaconelli special edition. It's the Ike 30 by Abu Garcia. Really, really nice setup here. He uses 4-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch wacky worms with this guy. This is hands down his most used setup. We love wacky rigs on this channel, and this thing definitely caters to those. He splurged a little bit on the combo he knew he was going to use the most. So yeah, so that is all of Pete's setups right now. Again, this is all subject to change, so keep that in mind. But as of right now, this is what he's got. And there's a lot of awesome setups in here, guys. All right, so now that we've gone through all of Pete's setups, we're going to start on mine now. These I know a lot better because I use them every day. I don't use these every day, hardly. I don't use these at all. So these I use every day, and we're going to go through them all. So I'm just going to grab one and we're going to talk about it here. All right, so this guy here is my jerkbait setup. So this is a Daiwa Tatula CT 6.2-to-1 gear ratio reel. Got some 12-pound fluorocarbon on it with a Guggen Green twitch rod, which is a 7.9 medium action rod. So this is one that, again, just like Pete's setup, I use in the early months of the year and the late months of the year. So March, April, May, and then October, November, and if we go into December. This is where I use this setup. I never use it in the summer months. But yeah, this has been a pretty good one. I will say this Guggen Green is probably the next rod to get replaced at some point. Just because I'm kind of looking to upgrade this setup a little bit. I think this one's kind of on the chopping block of things to be upgraded. But yeah, still a good combo nonetheless. This one here is my Topwater, not Frogs. So this is everything but Frogs that I throw on this. We'll start with the rod. So this is a Lew's TP1X Speed Stick. This is a step up from the Lew's Carbon Fire that's pretty common in most retail stores. This is a step up from that Carbon Fire. 20-pound braid on this one. Not bad. And the reel is a Shimano SLX, not the DC, Shimano SLX 7.2-to-1 gear ratio. I got a fantastic deal on this SLX due to some circumstances a few years back. Got an excellent deal on this one, brand new, still in the packaging. And this is probably, like I said, this is the best budget reel for the money, I think. For $100, I think this SLX is the best choice. But yeah, not a whole lot to talk about on this one. I'm throwing poppers, walking baits, buzz baits, jitterbugs, everything like that on this guy. Pretty much everything that's topwater except a frog is what I'm throwing on this guy. So yeah, not a bad one. Okay, so next one here is probably one of, if not my most used combo that I have. And this is my mainly wacky rig setup, but I may throw blade baits on this from time to time as well. So mostly wacky rigs, rarely blade baits are going to get thrown on this guy. And this is hands down my most used combo that I have. And this is a Dobyns Caden. So in case any of you are curious, I absolutely love Dobyns rods. Similarly to how Pete loves his Duckets, I love my Dobyns rods, and probably more than half of them are Dobyns rods, just giving you a heads up. But Dobyns Caden series rod, 7.1 medium light action. I was debating getting a medium, but I decided to go with something a little bit more interesting in the medium light. And oh my God, I love it. Medium light action rods, especially for throwing somewhat light baits like this, are so much fun. They make 2-pound bass feel like 6-pound bass, and every fight is this really fun experience, even more so than the other rods, because every fish feels massive on this rod, and I love it. So this was a great choice to upgrade, and it's kind of an unfortunate circumstance that I upgraded. I used to have those of you who know the company Century rods, it's a lesser known company, but a very premium company. I had the Century Demon Junior rod. It was a 7-foot medium, and that was about a $500 rod. Unfortunately, the rod broke after many years of hard use, and I also bought it secondhand, so who knows what happened before that. But it got its life, and we upgraded to this Dobyns Caden, and I love it. I love the medium light. I'm probably going to forever use a medium light for Wacky rigs from here on out. The line is 15-pound Power Pro braid in the yellow. I love the yellow. And the reel is a Shimano Vanford 2500. I have had this reel for going on 4 years now, and I've greased it every year, but this reel never fails to produce for me. This reel is probably hands down my most reliable workhorse that I have. You pay a premium for it. This was about a $250 reel. I've gotten my money's worth tenfold because it's just so reliable and so trustworthy of a reel. And not to mention it looks great with the Dobyns Caden. So yeah, great combo there. One of my favorites. Okay, so this one is probably the one I think this is a new one actually. This one wasn't in the 2024 Rod and Reel Arsenal video. So this is a new one, but this is my light duty Texas rig setup. So I'm gonna start with the rod and I'm gonna talk about the reel because the reel is kind of crazy. But the rod is a St. Croix Mojo Bass Trigon rod. So the Trigon is basically the handle is triangular shaped. It's actually a really great rod here. But specs is a 7'1" medium heavy power with a fast action tip. So this is throwing lighter duty Texas rigs. So I think there's a 1/4 ounce weight on here with a 2 hook. So nothing too crazy. This is when I want to fish a Texas rig, but don't necessarily want to punch heavy mats all the time. This is perfect for that. So yeah, St. Croix Mojo Bass Trigon 7'1". And this reel was one that in the last Fishing Arsenal video, I said I was not going to get, but I got it anyway. The reason being was I wanted it. That's the main reason. I wanted it and it's badass. So this is the Shimano Metanium 8.1:1 gear ratio. Shimano Metanium MGL. I love the MGL reels. I think I prefer MGL over DC reels for Shimano, but this Shimano Metanium is hands down the nicest reel that we have in this entire fishing garage. This thing, when you hold it in your hand, it feels just such great quality. When you reel in with it, it feels so much different, even compared to a Corrado K or anything like that. The difference is crazy. Granted, this is almost a $500 reel, so not for everybody. You don't need this to enjoy bass fishing by any means, but considering the type of fishing we do and how often we use these setups, it's a lot more worth it for us. But yeah, Shimano Metanium, I love it to death. Can't get enough of it. And then I have 12-pound fluorocarbon on there as well. All right, moving on. We've got another somewhat premium one here, and this is my crankbait setup. So I'm gonna start with the rod again. So this is a Duckett Insight. This is my only Duckett. Duckett Insight 7.6 crank and stick. So this is like a 7.6 medium. Perfect for crankbaits. I only fish medium power rods when it comes to crankbaits because I love the hooks that you get with medium power. But 7.6 medium crank and stick. And then the reel is another really nice one. So this is the Shimano Chronarch MGL. So this is a 7:1 gear ratio. So a little fast for crankbaits, but again, not overly fast, so you can kind of correct for it. But again, this is a premium Shimano Chronarch. Got a killer deal on it a long time ago, but I had to have it. This Shimano Chronarch is my second best reel, and I love it. Again, between the Metanium and the Chronarch, we get our use out of these things tenfold, and how much we fish and how passionate I am about fishing. I live and breathe fishing every day, even in the winter. So these investments are much more worth it. But yeah, and then for the line, it's 15-pound fluorocarbon. Maybe a little heavy, but it's perfectly fine for me. 15-pound fluoro is great. Okay, so the next one here is my chatterbait setup. So this rod is kind of the new kid on the block. This is my newest rod that I have. Haven't fished with it yet, considering it's not quite fishing season yet, but it's going to be one that I use in pretty much year-round. This is going to be a year-round combo, so it's definitely worth it. So we'll start with the reel, and if you can't tell, my reels are pretty much only Shimano and Daiwa. 6.3-to-1 Daiwa Tatula SV with 12-pound fluorocarbon, and the rod is a Dobyns Sierra Series 7.3 medium heavy power. So this is one that, again, we're going to use quite a bit. I used to have a Cashin Icon, but I had some issues with the Cashin Icon, so we're moving on to the Sierra. Another Dobyns in the collection. I love Dobyns to death. As you guys know, it's my favorite rod company. The Dobyns Sierra is on par with the Dobyns Caden, but the Dobyns Sierras tend to have much slower action tips, which is what you want for things like chatterbaits and things like that, spinnerbaits. But yeah, so that's a good one. We're going to move on. This one here is I use for more than one thing. So this combo I use for 3 separate baits. I use this for swim jigs, I use this for tubes, and I use this for Ned Rigs. I use this for all 3, and it's all pretty much season dependent. This rod is pretty much exclusively Ned Rigs in the early spring, and then in the summertime it becomes sort of a tube rod, and then the rest of the year it kind of becomes a swim jig rod. But we'll start with the rod. But this is a Dobyns Fury Series 7-foot medium power fast action. Perfect kind of all-around setup, perfect for doing multiple things, which is exactly what I want to do. So perfect for that. And the reel here is a Shimano Stratic 2500 HG. This thing is perfect, and then the line is 15-pound braid Power Pro. I love this setup. Value for money wise, this is something that, you know, if you're looking for like an all-purpose setup, this is kind of what you're looking for, is something like this. Like I said earlier in the video, we have some special trips coming up where I need to pack light, and this will probably be one of the rods that I bring because this rod can do just about everything. But I really only delegate it to those 3 baits. But yeah, Shimano Stratic with a Dobyns Fury. Still got about 5 or 6 more here. All right, so this one is one that I'm gonna try to use a lot more this upcoming year. But this is my medium duty swim bait setup. So the heaviest swim baits I'm throwing on here is about 1.5 ounces, maybe 2 ounces, but mainly 1.5 ounces. And as you can see, I have a 6-inch trace on there. I've caught some big fish on that. But this is a St. Croix Bass X 7.4 heavy power rod. This is an old St. Croix Bass X. This is the blue lettering St. Croix Bass X. And this thing is really good. It's a broomstick, but they do that on purpose. You know, this is designed for heavier baits. And the reel here is this is my only reel that's not Shimano or Daiwa. This is a Abu Garcia Revo Beast X 40 size reel. So this is a bigger reel for sure, but it's designed to handle these bigger baits, which is perfect. I believe it's a 6:3-to-1 gear ratio. I could go a little slower, but it's fine. And then the line is 20-pound fluorocarbon. So yeah, this is one that I'm going to try to use a lot more this year. I think we're going to be in some situations where throwing heavier swim baits might be the move. But yeah, eventually I do want to get a heavy-duty swim bait setup, like an 8-foot rod for bigger glide baits, but that's further down the road. But yeah, that's my medium-duty swim bait setup. This is my jig rod. So this rod I've had forever. It's been the same rod and the same reel since early 2020, and I haven't changed anything about it. Obviously I changed the line, but this one is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's exactly what this is. So this is, we'll start with the reel, Daiwa Tatula CT 8.1-to-1 gear ratio, so a little bit faster. And the rod is a Dobyns Fury Series 7.3 heavy power. And this is perfect for these jigs. I throw mainly football jigs on this guy, usually 1/2 ounce, sometimes 3/4, and I think it's absolutely perfect. But yeah, so this thing, again, tried and true workhorse for me. I've had this thing at least 5 years, probably 6, and I haven't changed anything about it. And I have 20-pound fluorocarbon on there, perfect for jigs, in my opinion. But yeah, we've talked about this one numerous times. We'll move on. Okay, so the next one here is one that Saw a crazy spike in usage later in the year last year. And this one is my spinnerbait rod. So this guy is one that I use quite a bit now, and I'm probably going to use it quite a bit again here soon. But this is a dedicated spinning rod. So we'll start with the reel. So the reel is a Shimano Corrado DC 6.3 to 1 gear ratio reel, so slower gearing. We've got 12-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon, and the rod is a Dobyns Champion XP, so the blue Champion, in a 6/8 medium heavy fast. So I love having a shorter rod for spinnerbaits because it allows me to get that underthrow, that flick of a rod to get under docks. I love that about shorter rods, and that's perfect for spinnerbaits because I'm always throwing spinnerbaits towards cover and towards docks. 3/8 half-ounce spinnerbaits on this guy, really good. And this is the only DC reel that I have, I think. Yep, it is. So this is the only DC reel I have. Again, I only see the use for DC when it comes to bladed baits like these. This is where I think they excel. Yeah, let's move on. All right. So this is my drop shot setup here. This is one that I use in a little more specific circumstances. When we went to Lake Winnipesaukee last year, this was a heavy hitter for me. I used this quite a bit, and I'm gonna continue to use it. We've got some nice trips coming up later this year that maybe not Winnipesaukee, but some really cool ponds that are known around the United States. But this is gonna go really well for that. So this is the Shimano Sedona 2500 HG. So just like Pete's Shimano Nexave, extremely good value for money. I believe this was around 80 bucks, this reel, and it's 4 years old. I've beaten it up and it's still as good as it was new. So I love it. 6-pound fluorocarbon for this guy. In my opinion, when it comes to drop shots, you really want to go as light as possible on the line. This is why I have a drop shot specific setup, because if you're trying to do more than one thing on a spinning setup and you're trying to drop shot with that same setup, the drop shot really suffers because the line is way too thick. Even like 10-pound, 12-pound for drop shot is way too thick. But we're gonna go to the rod here. This is a 7-foot medium power Lew's TP1X speed stick. Again, really good one, tried and true. Maybe not one that I use every trip, but a good one nonetheless. But yeah, all right, we're slowly getting to the end here, but we have 2 more. So this is my Texas rig rod. This is my heavy duty punching Texas rig setup. We'll start with the reel. So the reel is a Shimano Corrado K, 8.5 to 1 gear ratio. The line is 20-pound fluorocarbon. And the rod is just like Pete's Flares, Frog, and Flippin' Stick. This is a special edition Guggen favorite rod. No longer made. It's actually pretty rare. This one's actually even more rare than I think the Flares one is. But this is a special edition Favorite Defender Lunkers TV edition. And there's a standard edition Lunkers TV, which is red, white, and blue. And then there was the special edition, which is green and black. And this is the green and black one. So this is the special edition, 7.6 heavy power. So perfect for heavier duty Texas rigs, 1 ounce, 1.5 ounce. Weights, things like that, punching through thicker mats. This is perfect. I mean, this is one that I've used a lot more the last year or so, and I'm gonna continue to use it because this is a good quality setup. These favorite Guggen combos, these discontinued ones that are kind of rare, they're shockingly pretty good. All right, so it looks like we're getting to the last one here. And this one, I believe, is different from last year as well. But this is my frog rod. So this frog rod is one that I really want to get back into using. I used it a little bit towards the end of the season because we had some really nice weather for frog fishing towards the end of August last year. But this is one that I'm going to make sure that we use more. But this reel is my frog rod. So this is the Shimano Corrado K, 8.5 to 1 gear ratio, just like the other one, with 50-pound Power Pro braid, and the rod is a Dobyns Cadence Series 7.4 extra heavy. So full cork on this Dobyns Cadence. This is, I think, my only combo that's full cork. I typically don't use full cork, but I'll use it for this guy. But 7.4 Magnum heavy, I guess, or yeah, they call it Mag heavy, but it's just an extra heavy. Dobyns Cadence Series. And this is mainly my frog rod. So hollow body frogs, popping frogs, things like that. I have like a Weston Baits Freddy the Frog that I'll throw with this thing too sometimes. But either way, this thing is a really nice setup, and I really like it quite a bit. But yeah, Shimano Corrado K with a Dobbins Caden 7.4 extra heavy. Nice setup. All right, guys, so that is all of our combos. This is all of them that I have. Obviously, Pete is a heavy Ducket user. I am a heavy Dobbins user. But either way, you know, like I said, this is years of collecting, years of building these combos up to what they are now. And I love all of these combos. You know, the fishing, obviously, we do this channel. But fishing is something that I am extremely passionate about every single day. I live and breathe fishing. I think about it constantly. And the amount of stuff we do, not just for this channel, but with tournaments and things like that, you know, these combos are well worth it. You know, when you actually look at the price of all these, it gets, you know, it's a little pricey, but with how much we use them and how much we enjoy them and what we do for the channel and, you know, the tournaments that we fish, you know, we've paid for these tenfold. And just how much we use them and enjoy them and have fun with them. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. This video, like I said, will be in the description of every single video from here on out for the next year until we do our 2026 Rod and Reel Arsenal video, which is going to be in about a year from now. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for all the upcoming fun videos and the start of the fishing season here in only a couple of weeks. We are very close to the start of the fishing season here. I'm really excited. We're probably going to be starting it off with a tournament, and I am counting the days until we can do that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. This is a long video. My voice is exhausted right now, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.